let's go to the land of the wonderful Wizard of Oz. The main character, a girl named Dorothy, gets swept up by the cyclone, and as she flies through the air, she lands in the world of Oz. She kills the Wicked Witch during her landing, and she received these powerful red shoes as a reward. Even though she's fascinated by this new and colorful world she arrived in, she has only one goal, and that is to return home. Spoiler alert, at the end, she is told that she can by simply closing her eyes and clicking her heels 3 times while repeating, "There is no place like home." What we can learn from her adventures is that it takes 4 attributes to get you home: brains, heart, courage, and red shoes. Fortunately, all of us here are blessed with brains, heart, and the guts for courage. So the real question here is, do you have red shoes? And if not, how do you get home? This girl, her name is Kiki. Up until the age of 3.5, she lived with her Korean mother and siblings. It was also around that age that she was brought to an orphanage where she waited for adoption. Now, imagine, one day you get to wear this fancy dress and these beautiful red shiny shoes, and you step into this machine and the machine flies you through the air, and when you get out, the people in that world speak gibberish. And they have big blue eyes and big noses and funny hair, and they drive cars and they live in brick houses, and they've got this big dog living inside the house as a pet, and they have a garden with a slide and a swing and a sandbox and a piano and a bird and a cage and cookies, delicious cookies, and an antique doll that you're not allowed to touch. So all these new experiences and impressions in one day were exciting and overwhelming. So by the end of the day, Kiki was exhausted and ready to go home. But she didn't. She stayed that night and the next day. In fact, she stayed all following nights and days. Who of you has ever been in a situation like Dorothy and Kiki where you wished you could go home by simply 3 clicks of your heels? Right? Yes, I know I've been in those situations. And one that I would like to share with you was in September 2006. That's when we moved from the Netherlands to Korea. Now, the first 2 years were filled with all these new experiences and impressions that were both exciting and overwhelming. So by the end of those 2 years, I was ready to go home. But I didn't. I stayed another year and another one and another one, and I'm still here, 11 years later. And that is also exactly the time that it has taken me to discover the power of my red shoes and how they can bring you home. The thing is that in order to return home, you first have to be taken away from it. For me, I had to be in a place where I felt anything but home, and that was in Korea. If any of you, like me, experience being taken away from your home, the reason why, it's because it's the most effective way to discover that home is not a place or a country or people out here. Home is a place within ourselves. The place within where I learn to fully trust myself, or I should say myself, because within all of us, there is this whole community waiting to be discovered, to be listened to be seen, to be known, and to be accepted and loved. Just like Dorothy needed the brains, the scarecrow, heart, Tin Man, and courage, the lion, to bring her home, her community, so do we all need that community to bring us home. And red shoes. So the good news for all of us here, especially the men, you don't have to go out to buy shiny red shoes in order to get connected to your inner community. The red shoes, I'm sure you figured out by now, symbolizes our ability to connect and integrate. How to practice that ability is through kind and compassionate conversations with yourself first. That's how you integrate your inner community. Courage, heart, and brains. When you build a timeline of your life, you can see and understand how every experience has made you become the person you are today. And to love that person and to trust that person and to know that who you are is exactly who you are meant to be. It's in the wholeness of becoming that we come home. There is this concern that we are raising a disconnected generation because of devices and social media. I don't think that the disconnect in people is because of those things. I think it is thanks to devices and social media that the disconnect in us as individuals and community has become so visible. We are not more disconnected. We are, however, required to challenge and grow our ability to connect. We live in an amazing time of abundance and opportunities. And to make the next level of growth possible makes the need for collaboration, integration, and relationship more urgent. In a world of disconnect, let's create environments that are safe and inviting for people to share their life experiences. We all have holes of disconnect in our stories, holes that we keep falling into unless we recognize and acknowledge those holes and fill them. Make time to connect yourself with your experiences so you can help others to connect with theirs. That's how we build beautiful relationships of trust and communities that are collaborative, integrated, and creative. The we, as in communities, fill the holes in our story, making us whole again. Whether you are a parent, teacher, leader, when you are invested in unlocking people's potential, the key is in kind and compassionate conversations. It's in the willingness to deeply understand yourself and others that you will find your red shoes that connects you and brings you home. When I was preparing these presentation slides, my 9-year-old son saw this picture of Kiki laying on the floor with her red shoes. So he asked me, "Is this girl your friend?" And I said, "Yes, she is." And then he wanted to know, "Do you still have contact with her?" And I answered, "Yes, better than ever." Kiki, or Kiki, as most people know her by, has got herself some new pair of red shoes. And with these red shoes, I can return home anytime. Want of ik nu mijn ogen open of dicht heb, ik ben altijd thuis. Let me translate this gibberish for you. Because this time, whether my eyes are open or closed, I'm always home. Thank you.